Hello, entrepreneurs. Joe DeChara back once again for another amazing episode of How to Win at Business and also how to win at your personal income taxes this year, folks. That's right. I'm coming to you live from downtown Bethpage, Long Island, New York. And I'm looking forward to this session. In fact, I'm looking forward to all the sessions because we've turned this broadcast into an educational forum where anybody could learn about the simple, uh, actually the complex tax laws and accounting and the things that people have to the hoops that people have to jump through to just to file a simple tax return. It's an annual ordeal, and that's what it is for most people. And it's an ordeal. It's a business for me, and I love sharing my knowledge and experience to make things simple for you. And if you're watching live, give me a hashtag live. If you're watching a replay, give me a hashtag replay. And if you're not watching, everybody's lost. So you don't have to give us a hashtag. But if anything I say resonates with you, please feel free to book a chat with me. Please don't book a chat to get to know me. You can do that by going to Mastermind with Joe every Friday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We meet, we play games, we give away prizes, we network, we learn, and we share. Uh, okay, thank you, Facebook user. This is what we just got. Listening and yes. Anyway, thank you. I don't know who you are, but if you put a question in the chat, I will always answer it. Let's get rid of this annoying thing and let's get right to it. One thing that uh, people don't uh, like is going to the dentist. Another thing that people don't like is getting their taxes prepared. If you like getting your taxes prepared, call me, contact me. I might have a job for you. But let's go through this because you know there's always the secret is usually preparation for anything. Vince Lombardi said winning is a habit. You prepare. You don't just run out there and start playing football. And it's the same thing with your taxes, folks. It's really not brain surgery. And what I'm going to try to do is make this as simple as possible for you, so that when you get your taxes prepared, you're helping your tax preparer help you because that's what we want to do. Uh, we don't want any wrinkles. We don't want any misinformation. We don't want any mistakes, and we actually need your cooperation to do that. So let me explain what I mean and how this would impact you and impact the people that are preparing your returns. First of all, you have to understand that if you go to see your tax person without any documents, without the documents they need to file a complete and accurate return, uh, there's going to be a delay. Okay, there's going to be a delay and more chance for errors. And we're dealing with a lot of different issues here. You're dealing with third parties that have to give you the information. Hopefully, they're giving it to you timely. Hopefully, it's correct information because we know from just right what's going on right now. The IRS is giving all kinds of wrong information when it comes to recovery rebates, advanced child tax credits, and I've talked about those. I'll talk about them again. How do you overcome getting wrong information? And I think I'll touch upon that here because not every time you get information, be it a W 2, a 1099, interest and dividends, those are always, those are, there's a W2C, W2, and that stands for corrected. A 1099C, it stands for corrected. So don't assume that just because you get a tax document that it's accurate, that it's 100% correct. You do have a an obligation and a right to question any information that you get from a third party. And also, like I said, you're getting information from the government. For instance, if you had unemployment, I know a lot of people have had unemployment the last couple of years. You actually have to get your 1099-G from the state. And usually, and a lot of times, same thing like with mortgage interest and student loan interest, they don't mail you this stuff anymore. You have to download it. So, I'm going in a few different directions now. So let's just go right to the form. The first thing, and I'm going to do a a training on this, is your filing status. Okay, because it's not as straightforward as most people would think. So if you're single, obviously you're going to file single. You don't have any dependents. It's just you. That's simple. You're married, filing joint. Okay, again, you're married, you want to file a joint return. Well, sometimes there's cases when you can be married and you don't want to file a joint return, so you're going to file married filing separately. Now, this is the worst filing status because you don't get all of the credits, you don't get all of the deductions. It comes with it a whole nother set of rules that we don't have time to get into. Head of household. Now, this is if you're a single individual, but you have a dependent. Okay, and there's all different kinds of dependents. The point here is that to get prepared, let's say you have a new dependent. Okay, let's say your mom, who was retired, just came to live with you and you're providing more than one half the support. Well, your tax preparer needs to know this information. Not only that you may have a new dependent, but you're going to need their social security number and date of birth. It's got to be the correct date of birth, and I'll tell you why. Obviously, it should be correct, but if it's not, the IRS is going to reject it. Okay, so usually I ask for a photo ID, and we put that in our secure portal. We have it as a record because your driver's license or state issued ID usually is going to be correct. And also, if you just tell somebody, a date of birth, they could write it down wrong, they can transpose a number, or you could just get it wrong. So let's make sure you get all of your dates of birth and social security numbers correct. And that includes new dependents. My daughter and my son, uh, well, my son didn't have the baby, but he has a new child. His wife actually gave birth, but I have two new granddaughters. They both have social security numbers and they both have a date of birth, believe it or not. And you have to come prepared with that. Your address, okay? If your address has changed, make sure your tax preparer knows it. I just had a client email me her new address. She moved from California to Tennessee. She's telling me ahead of time. We're changing her address in all of the tax programs in our database. So that was nice of her to tell us this. Uh, Again, okay, standard deduction, dependents, we just went over that. Wages, line one. Okay, make sure you have all of your wages. If you left a job, you got to let your person know. If you got a new job, you got to let them know. If you don't have a W-2 from a job that you worked at, call your employer. Try not to go to your accountant without the information. The worst thing that happens to us is we prepare a return, we file it, and then somebody says, "Oh, I forgot I had a job last year." And it happens. But if you take the time to think about it, and the best way to do this is you take out last year's return. take out last year, even the last 2 years returns, see what information went on there. A lot of these tax programs, when we print them out as tax preparers, it doesn't just have your tax return. It's got all of the worksheets, all of the information that you gave us to prepare your return. So you could use that as a starting point. So that's your W-2s. Any interest and dividends, obviously the same thing. IRA distributions, pensions, and annuities. This is all information you're going to get from third parties. And even though, the 1099s for this stuff was supposed to go out January 31st, they don't all go out on time. And again, sometimes they're misstated, they're wrong, especially with IRA distributions and pensions. You got to be careful with the distribution codes. Okay, so the distribution code tells the IRS what's the nature of this distribution. So if you take a pension distribution early, you could get hit with a 10% penalty. Uh, if your if your pension is from a disability, well, that might be in a different tax category. And again, these come from third parties. I've seen plenty of times when the code is wrong. Now, you have to understand, when something comes from a third party, they're reporting it to the IRS. They're reporting it separately. So if you put it on your return and you say, "Oh, they put the wrong code on," and you just put the right code, well, it's going to come back. It's going to get bounced by the IRS. Not only is it going to get bounced, there's a very good chance that it's going to get delayed. If you're getting a refund, you might say, "Oh, why isn't my refund being processed?" And you'll get, "Oh, you'll go on the website, it'll say, it's being processed." And you'll say, "Well, okay, why is it taking so long?" It could be because there's a mistake on your return. So if you take the time to review this stuff before you go and get your return prepared, it's going to help you. It's going to help your tax preparer. Okay. So, another thing that's real, don't rely on your tax preparer to catch all of these mistakes. Okay, for a number of reasons. Number one, we're very, very busy. Believe it or not, we only have a small window of time to do a tremendous amount of work. So we do our best. We have checks and balances. In my firm, we have one person prepare, we have another person review, and then the final review is usually done by me. So there's three different sets of eyes on it. So I think if we get four sets of eyes on it, there's less chance for mistakes. Okay, again, Social Security benefits. If you're a new recipient, make sure that you get and it's important to get the forms. Okay, I don't I don't like when clients just send me handwritten uh, information about, "Oh, they took all the," and it's it's it could be helpful for you to write this stuff out, but it's terrible to do a tax return from handwritten notes. And a big part of that reason is you don't know that a lot of information from those third parties have to be inputted into the tax return. For instance, the W-2s. It's not just the wages and the withholding. You got to put the employer's name, address, ID number. Same thing with interest and penalties, pensions. It's got to match up to the IRS completely. And if it doesn't, it's again, it could get rejected. Okay, other income could be a lot of stuff. I'm not going to go into details. Uh, Charitable deductions. Don't expect your tax preparer to just put down a number. Okay, you got to tell them. Okay, so that's page one. Uh, Page two is a lot of just calculations. Now, what would be good is you add up, okay, so over here you could see federal income taxes withheld. So now if somebody else was doing my return, what I would do is make my own schedules, okay? And before the return is filed, what we do is, so here's the procedure. So, and I'm going to get rid of this for now. So, what the procedure is this: we get the information, we review it. If there's something obviously missing, we're going to ask the client for it. Okay, so again, if there's something missing, it upsets the process. If we get everything that we're expecting, it's going to be a lot easier for us to do our job. Okay. So once we prepare the return, like I said, in my firm, we have two sets of reviews. There's a preparer, somebody reviews the data. Okay. Because it's easy to, either miss data or transpose a number, leave a number off. So we try to minimize the mistakes by doing that. And then there's a final review where the final reviewer will take a broad look at it and just compare it to last year, make sure there's nothing obvious, make sure that we're taking full advantage of all the deductions and credits, which is another thing I almost forgot, the credits. So like, let's say you bought a vehicle that an electric vehicle that might qualify for a tax credit. Maybe you put a fuel efficient oil burner in your house. Maybe you put solar panels on. But we don't just know this stuff. Even if we're friends of you, if you're family, don't assume that we know. Oh yeah, they put the solar panels up. I got to call them and say, we got to know the amount. Usually these credits come with some kind of tax ID number that you can get off the supplier's website, and they'll give you a number, and those numbers a lot of times have to go in the tax return. And I'm saying a lot of times because a lot of times this is a moving target. They change the rules, they change the requirements, and then you have the state requirements, which is a whole nother ball of wax. But so now, once we complete the return and we say, okay, you're good to go, what we do is we give the client a copy of the return and the electronic filing forms. We do not file the returns until we get those electronic authorization forms back. Why? Because we're not allowed to file them unless we get a signed authorization. Now, we have to save those authorizations because the IRS could actually audit us. They can audit the CPA firm, the tax preparation firm, to make sure that we're in compliance, because they're not getting signed paper forms from clients anymore, from taxpayers anymore. So, in between the time that we get those signed forms, our clients all have their returns. So now, if this was me, if I was going to somebody else, I would have, let's say I had uh, two W-2s. My wife got one and I got one. Okay. I'm not just going to, I know how numbers work. So I'm not just going to assume that they put the numbers in, right? So I'm going to total my wages. I'm going to total my interest. I'm going to make totals of everything, the withholding. And when they give me the return, I'm actually going to look at it. There's something I want to show everybody here that's on every return. And let me see if I can make this bigger. Okay, right next to where it says sign here, it says, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, sign here. Under penalties of perjury, I declare I've examined this return and accompanied schedules, blah, blah, blah. Every tax return has that. And what I believe is that's like the catch-all. You could blame your accountant. No, and that might be the case. Accountants make mistakes, believe it or not. But once you sign the return, you're taking full responsibility because, like I said, once I give you the return, it's not just so that you have it. I expect you to look it over, find it, if if that it's complete and accurate, and then you sign off on it, and then you give us the authorization. Because once we have that authorization, we're pushing the button to get it filed. So I would rather have a client review the return, ask me questions. I don't mind I actually like getting questions because it keeps me sharp. A lot of time I get questions that I don't know, and I'll say I don't know about that, and maybe they found a deduction that I didn't know about. I missed it. It could be a lot of different things. Maybe they forgot to tell me that they adopted somebody, and they say, "Hey, where's my new kid on the tax return?" It could be anything. But I would much rather them come back to me and say, "Hey, there's a mistake on my return. I'd appreciate if you could correct this before we file it." Because once it's filed and then you come back to us and say, "Oh, I forgot to give you this W-2." Well, we got to do a whole nother, we got to prepare it again. We don't have to prepare the whole return, but now that's another return. We got to spend time and energy. And usually if it's not our mistake, we're going to bill the client because we're in a business too, believe it or not. And it might not even be your mistake, but again, that's why I'm doing this training, because I believe that most people do not take the time to review their information, to prepare for getting their taxes prepared. So that's my story. I'm sticking with it. God bless. Over and out. Again, I appreciate everybody that put, that said hi to me in the chat. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. And I always get back, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube. Again, I'd like to invite anybody to come to Mastermind with Joe. It's a business mastermind. We learn from each other. We network. We play games. And you should go to my website. We're always putting up new tools, resources, information for you, the small business owner. If you're just interested in learning about taxes, about business, go to my site. And last but not least, if you need some direction, go to timewithjoe.com, and I'll be more than happy to spend some time with you and hopefully help you in your quest to dodge the bullets and get your information in there and processed so that you can look forward to next year filing your taxes. All right, over and out. I will talk to you again soon.